Hello everyone and welcome back to Prespect. This week we are working on our CVs. Right, here we go. Let's get into it. Today we're going to cover how to create a job-specific CV. We're going to give you a tutorial example on how to create this on Microsoft as well. And we're going to look at different tools within Microsoft that you can use to help you with your spell check, with proofreading. And we're also going to help you how to jazz up your CV so it's all neat, clean, and professional. Okay? So before we get into that, we're going to go into a bit of behind the scenes in terms of what makes a great CV and all that kind of stuff. So the content of today's workshop, if I can call it that, are these. So we're going to look at what makes a great CV or resume if you're in America. Why must you tailor your CV and make it specific to the job that you're applying for? We're going to also look at what can you include in terms of what are you doing now, what are you learning now during this lockdown. Hint, do something if you can. There's lots of free resources out there, lots of free online platforms out there for you to upskill if you need to. We're also going to be looking at essential CV breakdown. So we're going to look at the summary section, your skills, and also when you place in your education. So we know there's going to be loads of students or graduates, recent graduates who are going to be wanting to do their CVs now. Now is a great time to do this. And we're going to show you how do you showcase your education to maximize your chances of an interview. We're going to look at how to use a Microsoft spell checker. Some of you will probably be looking at this thinking that's very obvious. I know how to do it, but the amount of people that miss out their spelling or their grammar in their CVs is a lot. Okay, so that can also mean that you might be the right person for the job, but if you send off a CV that looks like your 3-year-old did it, then you're not going to get the job or the interview even. Yeah, so we're going to have a quick tutorial on how to update your CV using Microsoft. And then we're going to summarize the whole thing and make sure that everybody's got it, okay? And you can also contact us if you're in Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and you want a bit of support with your CV. You can send us your CV and we can review it for you, or you can ask us some questions. To start with, what makes a great CV? So a great CV is tailored specifically for the job. It's 2-page max. And it's also specific to the job. So that's why we say it's tailored. So to make a CV tailored, or for you to be able to tailor your CV, we suggest or recommend that you create yourself. I'm just going to move this here a minute because it's just getting on my nerves. So we suggest that you create yourself a master CV. So that's the CV that has everything, all the jobs that you've done. You've dated it properly, so it's in order. You've put in all your educations if you want to, training if you want to. So this is almost like a master copy of you, who you are, your skills, your experiences, your everything in one document. So that might be like 6-page long for some people. And then when you've applied or found a job that you're interested in, you're going to tailor that job specifically. So you're going to tailor that CV, specifically to the job. So you'll be able to take sections from your master CV and create yourself a lovely tailored 2-page CV. Okay, we're going to look at that when we go into Microsoft. And then we have some tips for you, some do tips, what you should do. There's about 5 do's to watch out for. The first one we always say is spell check. Spell check your CV. Have a look at it. See, there's Grammarly that you can add onto your Word or your Google Docs if you use Google Docs. Spell checker on your Microsoft. Use everything. If you're not really good with your spelling, use a dictionary or ask a friend that's really good to check over your work, okay? Because you might be tired and miss out a word. Proofread and have somebody check it for you. Right. Microsoft also, I'm not sponsored by Microsoft, by the way, it's just what I use. So Microsoft also has a proofreading tool. So it reads aloud what you've written. It can sound a bit funny, but listening to it, it makes you think, okay, does that make sense? Especially in the summary, right? Does that make sense? Am I selling myself? Send that CV to yourself and ask yourself, would you give yourself an interview? Okay. So proofread it and also send it to somebody else, not your mum, because she's just going to say you're amazing. Send it to anyone else, your trusted critical friend who gives you good tips and advice. Send it to them. And then send them a cake as well. Use active positive verbs. So those are doing words. Okay. We've actually found a good list from Muse of active positive verbs. These are things like achieved, organized, accomplished, deliver. They sound strong. You're doing it. You've done these things, okay? And also be consistent with your layout. So you're only doing 2 pages. Get everything that you need to do, and then think about it. What type of bullet points are you using? Your heading, the sizes of your fonts. We even talk about, be consistent with that. The font that you use. So we were talking about things like not using decorative fonts. We're going to show you that as well. So you want fonts that are readable. Don't use underscores. Don't use any sort of slanted, what's that word, Carsten? Italics font. Thank you, Mr. Director. And don't tips. Don't lie. Do not lie about what you can and can't do in your CV, because you're going to get found out. Okay? So be honest. If there's 1 or 2 things that you can't do within a job description, yet you have transferable skills to show that you can do or you can learn it, put that in. But if you can't do it, do not lie. Do not say that you can and then be caught out. All right? Be honest. And right now, we have lots of free courses available in all these different platforms that you can upskill if you need to. Don't rush. Don't rush your creating your CV. So it might take you 2 to 3 days to create your master CV. So if you do that mammoth task of creating a master CV that has everything in it, it makes writing a specific and tailored CV a bit easier. So the first 2 or 3 that you do might be a bit challenging. You might, not really want to do it, but really take your time. Do it now while we're in downtime, self-isolation. Do that now, where create a CV, find a job that you really want in the future, want for after lockdown, and create a CV that sells yourself, that you're really highlighting this. And if there's anything that's missing in your skill, learn it, but don't rush creating your CV. Don't write lists of keywords such as teamwork, time management, adaptability, emotional intelligence, all the trendy soft skills keywords out there, unless you actually have demonstrated this. So, for example, I'm going to talk to the students here and the grads here, because, you're going to have an example of teamwork, project work. We all love that, right? Did you manage to hand this group project on time? What did you do as part of the team to make sure that this project was an A-grade project? If you had situations or you didn't have a material or something that you needed for this project, how did you adapt? Okay, so when you're using all these keywords, give an example, just a short example beside it and these could be examples of what you achieved so it's actually strong. So don't just list the words, okay? And do not copy and paste. So if you got your master CV, don't just copy and paste that into it and then leave the structure all uneven. Or if you found a good example of how to write something, you copy and paste it, adapt it, make sure that it actually makes sense to who you are. Don't just copy and paste, okay? It's very obvious. So these are an example of active verbs that you can try and use. So this is something that we did a quick Google and we found it on themuse.com. So we've put a resource here, link here. We're going to add that into the description so you can go ahead and use it. And we've color coded it just so it makes it easier for us to pick up the words. But this is great. When you Google stuff, if you are stuck for ideas and you can Google it, you're going to find that somebody else out there has done the hard work of putting a list for you. So we've not had to do this. Somebody else has done it, the Muse. And we've put it up here for you to have a look, but we're going to put the link in the description so you can go and have a look in their blog. But this is great. So you don't even have to look for active positive verbs. It's already made for you and you just need to adapt it to make sense to you. So you're not just listing it. Right, let's get into some examples of a good and bad CV so you can see what we're talking about, okay? So this is an example of a good CV of somebody that we worked with nearly 2 years ago. They're now in a really good job in a global investment banking organization, but we had to work into how to sell her skills. And that meant we had to create a CV that showcased her skills, it showcased her education, it showcased the type of person that they were, and it was specific to the job and industry they were applying for. Now, when we first met the person, they had a really good CV, but it had everything in it. It wasn't messy. It was just had everything in it. So it meant that, you know, they weren't really selling the strong point. They weren't being specific with their skills. So when we talked about listing of keywords, in the key skills section, you can see that they've got time management, but they're able to explain how they have used that, how they have demonstrated the time management skills. They have attention to detail. They're able to give example of how. And you can see from the CV, the layout, how clear it is, how specific it is that they do have attention to detail, their attitude, and also proficient in Microsoft Office. A lot of people say this, and then they struggle to create a CV. So if you're going to say that, be aware of things you say or describe yourself that could potentially trip yourself up. So this is the bit when we say don't lie about your skills in your CV, okay? Be specific. So this is an example of a good 2-page CV. And you can see they haven't filled their CV up with a lot of stuff. They've got lots of white space. You know, so that means things are really clear. When a person or a HR or a manager's looking at this CV, they can go to the sections that are highlighted, the titles, and see exactly what they want to see. All right. And this is an example of a bad CV. And again, this is somebody that we've worked with who is very, very skilled, very, very skilled. And you can obviously see that they're proud of the work. We've been looking at a bit of research and we found that, yes, for some academic CV, you do need to have quite a lot of stuff in it. However, this CV they created was for a job, a specific job. But it wasn't specific. Well, it wasn't specific. First, it was 7-page long, including the cover letter, which was attached to the CV. So again, as we put here, keep your cover letter and your CV separate. They're separate documents. Your cover letter is showcasing, is where you sell yourself, is where you go into detail, not too much, but you go into detail about what you can do and how you are specific and qualified for the job. And your CV, that's the window. That's when you bullet point things that are clear. You highlight your skills that are specific to the job. Okay, that's what we say is 2-page long. But if you have, like we said earlier, a master CV like this one, this is basically a master CV that has everything that you've done all the years, then it's easy for you to tailor your CV specifically. So you can see that we keep coming back to that, tailoring your CV. Another thing that you can see from this example, the layout and everything else is not consistent. So you can see that they've got italics here, they've got bullet points and tick marks here, and they've got other, you know, bullet point style arrows here. They've got, it's really busy. So if you were a HR person and you received this, if you know, think about it. If you were to send this to yourself, if you created a 6-page CV, would you hire yourself? Is it specific to the job that they're going for? Even though we're all proud about what we do, not everything needs to go on your CV. Okay, so 6-7 page is a big fat no. We have our own cheat sheet that you can also use. So you can email info@prespect.co.uk, or we're going to put this up on our CV later as well. Let me just move this out of your way so you can see it. Again, our cheat sheet just highlights the key things that we've been talking about, where how to lay out your contact. So it's just your name, a number that you can be reached, the number of people put in their phone number, WhatsApp number, mum's number, all sorts of numbers there. Just use the one that if a job is going to call you, you're going to pick up. Your email, again, make sure you have a professional email. So avoid anything that's Zoe3560 something at Google. Be specific. Use your name. Use your name, your name and your surname at Gmail, so they know that's you. So you know that's your professional email. Postcode and city. You don't need to put any other detail in there, okay? Again, your personal statement. Who are you? Why are you great for the role? We've actually got a good example on how to do your personal statement or your personal summary in the next section. Your core skills, as you can see, we broke it down. Again, we're going to go into detail about this section. So use this cheat sheet that you can, you know, it will give you a good focus for when you write yours. If you are currently at university, your university, I was at GCU recently, they've got a great student resources there where you can create your CV and get some good support. So use that as well. Use the resources available to you to make yourself a great, clean CV. All right. And don't overbake it. Like we were talking about it. Keep it 2 pages specific to the job, but you don't need to add any other juggling skills that you may have in there unless it's specific to the job. So we're going to now break down the essential areas. So these are areas that we found that people sometimes struggle with. I used to struggle with these sections a lot. So I did a lot of research behind the scenes, trying to figure out what do they mean? What, why do I need to write this? Okay, so we're going to break down the CV summary, the summary objectives. I don't know what you call it, but that top section that you have, we're going to break it down. We found, again, another great blog post by, what are they called? Let me see. They're called nouveauresume.com. A lot of these American companies have lots of really good tips. This one really resonated with us because it was talking about how you would use your job description or the job description and look at the key things they're asking for. And if you have those skills, how then do you summarize that on that big section, on that little section, that 5 lines? So they're talking between 1 to 2 sentences at that top, so keep it clean. And they talk, an example that they use here was for marketing. So this person could write, the experience. Facebook marketer with 5 years experience with managing 10 plus Facebook accounts, managed over $25,000 in marketing budget or whatever you've done. So it's really specific. It shows that the person has the 5 years experience that the job description was asking for. The person has experience of managing multiple Facebook accounts, so they will have different ideas. It's not just one type of Facebook account that they've managed. They also can handle money, which was very specific in the job description. So we're going to put the link to this blog in the description so you can also have a look. And then they give different examples for different industries, so you're not going to be stuck. It's actually going to give you good tips. And again, don't just copy and paste. Read it. Make it make sense to you and your industry and the job that you're applying for. But use these resources. So don't feel like you have to do this on your own and, invent the wheel. There are things, blogs, information out there that can help you create the best CV and keep it to 2 pages. Okay, and then we were looking at your skills and attributes. So obviously the skills that you possess are the key to the job that you're going to do, the skills, your qualification, etc. And how do you showcase this on your CV? So this is a snippet of my own CV that I wrote ages ago. That now that I'm looking at it, I can see, right, I should have broken this down a bit more. So I would have broken it down to my technical skills. So, for example, this job I was applying for was a marketing job. So I could have given them a bit of my tech skills, what kind of marketing tools that I've used, what kind of, marketing tools, graphics tools, all sorts of things that they were asking for that I've used. And then I should have given them my core skills. So breaking it down into title, it means that they can find that thing that they're looking for. What's in that job description? And I've listed it here in bullet points and give an example, right? So break it down. We're gonna play around with this in the Microsoft. And your achievement, keep it separate. And make sure that if you're gonna put an achievement that is not specific or relevant to the job, is the skill in that achievement transferable to the job that you're applying for? So don't just put any old thing like, I'm a great baker. My friends tell me that. I wouldn't really put this here unless it was specific to the skills, to the job that I'm applying for. Okay, so breaking it down, little simple titles, block titles, with a clear border around it. I'll show you how to make that. It's really, really easy, and just keep your CV nice and clean. And same for your education. So this one is aimed at the students and the graduates that are coming up. You might not have the experience for the job that you're applying for, but you would have done stuff within your university or your course or your college or any educational setting that is transferable or specific to the job you're applying for. So again, I'm using my own CV here. So these are some of the courses that I've learned or that I've been learning. And when I was sending off my CV for a software related job or tech related job or web type job, I highlighted the tools that I was using within the modules. I think at some points I even put some grades in it, but it's not necessary. I highlighted what I was specifically doing under that module, right? And as I was doing this, it made me very aware of what I was learning and what was specific to the jobs that I'm going to do in the future, which again makes sense. So some people are not keen on group work. Group work for a lot of organization is important because it gets to see how well you work within a team. So putting in your group work module here is great because you can talk about what you did within the team. So you can create lots of examples. You can also talk about the tools that you use to support your team to create that final product. And then you can talk about the result, the end results. Did you get that A? Did you get, whatever grade you got? And how did you contribute as part of the team? So that then comes into your examples. Yeah. So listing your job description, but later on, this will be reduced. But while you don't have the experience, this is a good way of showing off what you've learned, what you can bring to the table, and how you can show this off. All right. So titles, bold titles here. Clear starts and end of dates. Yeah, so every part of your CV should have a clear start and end date. Some people miss that out. And white space. Okay, don't be afraid to have the space. And if you find that once you've done this and it's making your CV go into 3 pages, then you need to reduce something. Then you might have to drop a listing somewhere that if it's not relevant to the job that you're applying for. So this is again why you get to learn yourself, you get to know yourself when you're creating your CV. Let's summarize what we talked about here. Take your time when you're creating your CV. So to start with, create your master CV that has everything in it. Okay, that one, it doesn't really matter what the structure is. In this one, you just put everything, make sure it's in date order, make sure you haven't missed anything. And if you've got gaps in there, maybe put a little note about what was the gap about. So if you were raising children, you're looking after somebody, you don't need to obviously tell that to your employer, to your potential employer. It's just for your own self. We're going to talk about minding the gap later. Okay, but take your time. Use the resources and support available to you. So if you're in your campus, use it, contact us, use some of the links that we're going to put in the description to help you. Proofread your CV. So use the proofreader on Microsoft, ask a friend, a tutor, anyone, not your mum, unless your mum is very honest and really gives you good advice. Research your industry and your job. Research really makes it easy for you to write a good and clear CV. If you don't know what the job role is about, the skills required, if you don't know what the industry is about, if you don't know what the company is about, if you don't even know yourself, you won't be able to write a really good CV. So use research. Download the cheat sheet or your university PDFs. There's a lot of PDFs in universities. Get to know yourself and the skills you bring to the role with your education and other activities. So for example, right now, a few of the people that I work with are using online courses to learn, to develop, to update your skills. So this is actually a really good time to get to know yourself, to get to know what industry you're interested in, what jobs are you wanting to do, and also research now. With this lockdown, with this virus currently happening, what's happening within your industry? What jobs are changing? What new jobs are coming up? Okay, and are you ready for this change? If not, how are you going to adapt to it? How are you going to? But that's another conversation for another day. But get to know yourself, your industry, and your job. Thank you very much. Follow us in our channels, Instagram, Facebook. Send us an email if you want a little bit more support. And now we're going to go into the tutorials.